With your CIGTV News update, community news, and weather forecast, I'm Donna Bush. As government officials work towards improving traffic congestion to and from the eastern districts, Premier the Honourable Alden McLaughlin joined Minister for Infrastructure, the Honourable Joseph Hew, and NRA crews on Friday morning to take a look at ongoing roadworks that will help to improve traffic flow.
I believe everyone is aware, painfully, of the traffic woes we are experiencing, and so this morning, accompanied by the Minister for Infrastructure and the Chairman and acting CEO of the NRA, we did a quick tour of the roadworks in the Red Bay Prospect area, looking at the work that's being done to address as quickly as possible some of these issues, the quick fixes that are being employed, as well as having a look at the longer term work to resolve these issues permanently.
Much of these works are designed to alleviate the issues with traffic congestion, both in the mornings and in the evenings, in the pinch points here around the Hurlers roundabout and the Prospect area. So we've carried out some extensive work over the last few days. People will see that we have repaved a few areas, we are expanding a few more lanes, and we are working our hardest to try and minimize the amount of time commuters have to spend in traffic. We have to appreciate and extend our gratitude to the Royal Cayman Islands Police Services for the work that they have been doing over the last couple of weeks in the morning. I think we can all agree it has been a tremendous help in the morning commute. But that is obviously not sustainable, so we are here looking at some of the plans that we have, both in the short, medium and long term, to continue to ease the pain in the mornings, if you'd say that, and as well as in the evenings returning east.
NRA crews are working on a third lane that will go from the Red Bay roundabout down to Hurley's roundabout, and 2 extra lanes will also be added to the east-west arterial from the Chrissy Tomlinson roundabout.
The long-term goal is to get the east-west arterial extension completed up to Lookout Gardens in Bodden Town. We are continuing to negotiate with the National Conservation Council. As soon as we can get their approval, we will start the construction of that road. This is critical infrastructure for the country, and we hope that we will not be delayed too much longer on achieving that.
And you can hear more about the short, medium, and long-term plans on Friday Focus immediately following our news update. That's all happening next Friday, October 25th. Meantime, this Friday, government is confirming that as negotiations continue to move forward, capping and covering the main mound of the current Georgetown landfill is expected to start early next year. In addition, the terms of reference for the environmental impact assessment was submitted to the Environmental Assessment Board this month, along with the remediation options report from the Georgetown landfill, as the policy strategy and outline business case for the integrated solid waste management system went through a period of public consultation before receiving final government approval. Now, the environmental impact assessment will focus on the design and impact of the proposed ISWEMS facilities. These include a waste-to-energy facility, a green waste composting facility, a construction and demolition waste facility, an end-of-life vehicle and scrap metal processing facility, a household waste recycling center, just to name a few. Now, a press statement says the Cayman Islands government and DECO Consortium are equally committed to ensuring that the ISWEM solution is put in place in a timely manner while representing a long-term, environmentally sustainable and value-for-money solution for the entire country. Leadership Cayman's class of 2020 met as a group for the first time recently. The orientation was planned to give class members an insight into what the Leadership Cayman year holds for them. Participants, including some civil servants, were given the opportunity to network with their new classmates and learn more about each other's aspirations. Chamber CEO Will Pinot said Leadership Cayman will be able to contribute to the shaping of 24 business and professional leaders who will be better equipped to advance the Caymanian society and the world at large. The Chamber of Commerce has great expectations for the Leadership Cayman class of 2020 and are looking forward to watching these individuals grow into exceptional leaders. Well, coming up right after today's news update on today's Friday Focus segment, we meet Dr. David Vaughan of the Plant a Million Corals Foundation in the U.S. Dr. Vaughan has partnered with Verdant Isles CIG port partners to relocate coral and to increase overall cover and diversity of corals around Grand Cayman.
Up until just recently, we've known that for a couple hundred years that if a forest burned down, or we want to manage a forest or make a beautiful natural forest protected area, we can plant forests. And so we take that for granted. And we never thought we could do the same thing with the underwater forests, but we can.
Turning now to stories making news headlines at Radio Cayman. To create a local sustainable cattle population, the Cayman Islands Agricultural Society is hosting the first of 3 cattle sales at the Stacy Watler Pavilion. It's all happening this Saturday, the 19th of October, starting at 7 in the morning. Reducing the reliance on food imports has been a priority for the government, and part of that effort included a grant to the Cayman Islands Agricultural Society to beef up Cayman's beef stock. And the Business and Professional Women's Club is hosting the 19th Annual Silent Witness March on Friday evening. The march is to remember and honor those who have suffered as a result of domestic violence and bullying. This year's theme is Remember My Story, Remember My Name, and it encourages a move away from the stigma often associated with domestic violence and its victims. Now for more community news, this time from the Cayman Compass. The head of Cayman's Mosquito Research and Control Unit says a new strategy to eradicate Cayman's Aedes aegypti mosquito population is expected to launch next year. That's the type of mosquitoes that transmit dengue and chikungunya. MRCU Director Dr. James McNally was one of 4 people on a panel that addressed concerns about the recently reported cases of dengue fever on Grand Cayman. Health officials have confirmed that 6 people have contracted the virus, and that 3 of the cases were locally transmitted. Timothy McLaughlin Monroe from the Public Health Department also sat on the panel along with East End MLA and Leader of the Opposition, Mr. Arden McLean, and Department of Environmental Health Director Richard Sims. McLaughlin Monroe said at least one of the 6 cases involved an East End resident. There are a further 2 potential cases. However, we're awaiting the results, he said. Of the more than 60 residents who attended the 2-hour meeting, several expressed concerns they have, which were addressed by the panel. And you can go online to both Radio Cayman and the Cayman Compass websites for more daily community news headlines. Finally, a look at today's forecast from the Cayman Islands National Weather Service. Light winds and smooth to slight seas will continue across the Cayman area for the next 24 hours. That's due to a weak pressure gradient across the Northwest Caribbean. The National Hurricane Center in Miami is issuing advisories on Tropical Storm Nestor, located over the central Gulf of Mexico. Tropical cyclone formation is not expected during the next 5 days. And today's high temperatures locally reached 90 degrees Fahrenheit. A forecast is calling for mainly fair skies with a 20% chance of showers. Winds are from the east to southeast at 5 to 10 knots. Seas will be slight to smooth with wave heights of less than 2 feet. For a look at your weekend forecast, remember you can go online to weather.gov.ky for the latest forecast, which can also be found on the Cayman Islands Weather Services Facebook page and on the Weather Radio dial 107.9 FM. Remember, they also have an app. You can download it. It's CINWS for the latest in weather information. And that's the latest from us here at CIG Television. To see what's on our programming schedule, you can go online to gis.gov.ky. On the home page, be sure to click on the publications icon at the bottom of that page. You can also go to our Facebook page if you've missed today's news update or the rest, or from any time during the week, as well as our YouTube channel, which is CIG Television. I'm Donna Bush for now, thanking you for joining me for tonight and the rest of the week. Have a great weekend. I'll see you back here again on Monday. Ever wondered what coral actually is? Well, Dr. David Vaughan explains to us in detail what it is, why they're important to the environment, what his discovery means, the technique used, and how it all works.
So we have a slow start of people thinking first, corals grow slow, we could never plant enough. It can't be done in a timely manner, and it has to be very expensive, and it can't be done at scale. So I figured that if we could show that it can be done at scale, then people would see it can be done in replicates of that in other parts of the island or in other islands as well. So coral biologists in just the past 2 decades have really been despondent. We see how corals were being lost 10, 20, and 30 years ago. We watched it happening, and we saw that it was really a global effect, and that the global effect wasn't turning around fast enough. So you had a lot of people that literally knew too much by knowing what's going on underwater to say we're losing hope. But this technology now is the one thing that is a game changer for corals at a time when we need the hope, and we need to give to our next generation that we lost these corals in our generation, and we can fix them in your generation. And young people get it. They really do get it. Not only do they know it's happening, they need it to happen in their lifetime. So I'm a real proponent of basically demonstrating and educating to our young people that not only is this something they can have hope about, they can have a technology job in this. I grew up knowing that in my lifetime we started to make national parks and preserve areas, and I wanted to be a park ranger so I could help Mother Nature with managing the forest and the trees. People on an island now could be underwater marine protected area rangers. They could be people that help to plant and manage the underwater forests and show the tourists how beautiful it can be again. So we can have jobs for the young people that they can look forward to. Not only is there hope that it naturally is going to be beautiful, but they can have a piece of it. It can be their community's badge of honor. Question that everybody has as a concern, because a lot of people do know that we've lost maybe 40% of the world's corals. So a lot of people want to know, why should we even grow a coral if you're just going to put it out there to die? And the answer is that we've lost the ones that can't tolerate today's conditions or the past 10 to 20 or 30 years. But the ones that are there, just like a forest maybe being resistant of some trees, resistant to forest fires, resistant to diseases, and those droughts, any kind of conditions, those are the ones that Mother Nature is going to have reproduce naturally. We're just going to take those ones that Mother Nature naturally selected and make more of them in our lifetime. Now in the future, we really need to still address climate change. We can't just keep warming this planet. The corals are telling us that there's a problem, and hopefully we'll realize by corals that we have to stop it in the next number of decades, or all bets are off, not just for corals, but the oceans and eventually all mankind on this planet. We know this technology because it's so new, that there are people that are still thinking that, well, maybe we just try to protect more areas and it'll all come back on its own. Mother Nature will grow back. Well, that may be the case, but that may be the case that it may happen in 100 or 1,000 years. We want it to grow back in our lifetime and not lose the thousands of fish that require a living reef to be there for their longevity as well. And so this is a scenario that people can look at, people can have as an education. Grand Cayman is, in my opinion, one of the best dive spots in the Caribbean. It's also the spot that draws thousands of people to this island because they know that it's a beautiful island. And so because we're sharing this beautiful island, we also have to use new technologies to keep it looking beautiful. You know, I wish I could stop exhaling CO2, but I can't. But I try to do my best to not exhale too much. But I know that we have people that want to come here by plane and by boat, and people that want to stay here and live on this island, not move away because there's no jobs. There's jobs because there's tourism. We just need to make tourism a sustainable way of tourism, and growing corals and planting them back is a way to do that. And not only is it a way to do that, it's a way to show the tourists an attraction, just like our turtle center here. Shows that turtles were a problem, but we can use technology to solve turtle issues. And it's a wonderful attraction. We can do the same thing with corals, and it will be a wonderful attraction as well. Well, they're on the forefront, and I'd like to see a place like this stay out in front. And so this has worked in Cancun, where they have 2 to 3 million visitors, also by plane and by cruise ships, and 2 of their beautiful standard reefs were destroyed, one by a hurricane and one by a ship that grounded on it. And we transferred that coral reef back to a beautiful coral reef in less than 8 years. And they are both the size of a rugby field. And they did that with just about 10 to 15,000 corals. We're talking about being able to grow 50 to 100,000 corals every year. And so we can make football fields after football fields here. It's taken place also successfully in Belize. The group called Fragments of Hope have shown in a couple of their marine protected areas that they completely rebuilt in less than 10 years, and most of it in the last 5, reefs that look beautiful. There's not thousands of samples or examples of this. So it's brand new technology. So I would like to see, the reason of promoting Plant a Million Corals is to show it can be done. Well, most people don't know the real value of corals. Actually, corals are less than 1% of the bottom of the ocean, but they're reliant and responsible for 25 to 40% of the world's fisheries. And they're responsible for actually cutting our shoreline damage in half. If we didn't have coral reefs, our coastline shore erosion or storm damage would be double. So these are big items. In places like Florida, it's $5 billion economy. 77,000 people have jobs directly related to scuba diving or tourism on the reef. So these are big efforts. And so a lot of people ask me the question, what will it cost us to actually restore corals? But I have to ask, what will it cost us if we don't restore them?
The Esterly-Tibbetts Highway 3-lane roundabout is ready for drivers. It's time to make sure you know how to use it. First, know which exit you need to take. Pay attention to lane arrows and signs. Make sure you use your signal to change lanes or exit the roundabout. To turn left, you always approach in the left-hand lane and indicate left. To drive straight ahead, you need to be looking out for signs and road markings indicating which lane to use. Get in one of the lanes marked with a straight-through arrow. If turning right, you must use the right-hand lane and indicate accordingly. To use the roundabout safely, remember these 3 tips. Know your exit, pick your lane, and signal to make your turn.
Did you know that planning permission is required for an addition, alteration, or any material change to your house? The 10% rule no longer exists. Did you know you should check with the department as a planning and permit application may be required?